Good morning, everybody. As Stephen said, my name is Lisa Webb. I'm really proud to be leading the Midland Mainline Electrification portfolio for Capital Delivery Eastern within Network Rail. And I want to thank the PWI for inviting me here today to give me this opportunity to talk to you about that. I've also been lucky enough to support Peter over the past year with the National Electrification Efficiency Panel, which was set up by industry to drive challenge and change into electrification to unlock much needed savings. Much of the focus of NEEP so far has been to drive the changes to standards to support the application of minimum viable product and maximise the opportunities that our technology and the best engineering minds in our industry can achieve to reduce what we need to do to enable the shift from diesel to electric traction. What's become painfully clear to me during that time is that the end product of an electrification programme is only a small part of the cost of getting there. And the cost of the what is outweighed significantly by the cost of how we actually deliver it. In order for us to tackle the huge indirect cost of a programme like the Midland Mainline, there needs to be significant change across the board in how we mobilise ourselves and how we interact with the environment around us to simplify as much as we can in what is a very complex ecosystem. Everyone in that system has a role to play in moving the dial and open up better approach to delivery and unlock the cost savings we so desperately need to make electrification a sustainable option for decarbonisation. Many of you will be aware of the speed movement, which lays out focus areas for us to unlock better ways of managing programmes, cutting through bureaucracy, aligning us better as an industry and giving our teams permission to challenge and be courageous. Sounds great, doesn't it? And many of these things are far, far easier said than done. But I want to talk to you today about what we're doing to apply speed on the Midland Mainline electrification programme and how we're trying to shape ourselves as a better client to enable our supply chain to perform. For those of you who don't know, the Midland Mainline electrification programme is the much-awaited extension of the electrified railway from London to Sheffield. MMLE is like the rail industry version of Liz Taylor and Richard Burton and has been on again and off again more times than you'd reasonably expect for such an important programme of work. Joking aside, however, the elephant in the room may as well be addressed up front right away, and I know the question on the lips of most of you in the room will be, is MMLE going ahead? But the answer to that in the moment is the future of the scheme still awaits a decision from DfT, and whilst frustrating, I can't imagine the complexity of the decisions around prioritising the funds available to government in these unprecedented times. As Network Rail, we're doing everything we can to work with the DfT to provide transparency of our likely cost base and the challenges that we have to achieving the unit rates that the industry needs to make the investment in electrification a really easy decision for funders. I've heard Andrew Haynes speak on many occasions fully supporting the expansion of the electrified rail network. However, he's been very clear that in order to do that, we need to drive significant efficiencies into the cost of delivery. And that starts with the DfT and Network Rail, and we need to create an environment that supports and nurtures innovation across the entire range of what we do. The good news is that we've already secured investment for the first stage of the programme, with the Kettering to Wigston leg in the full throes of delivery, riding hot on the heels of the award-winning London to Corby programme, which was energised in 2019. We've also received funding for the last couple of weeks for the much-needed renewal and enhancement work south of Bedford on the existing electrified lines to enable electric running to 125 miles per hour. That's £500 million worth of investment in electrification, and hopefully the good work that's being done there is laying the foundations for confidence in our collective ability to drive the efficiencies that we so desperately need. So what are we doing to make a difference on this programme? For me, it starts with a really clear vision of what we want to drive through our culture and ways of working. When I first took this role and started to talk to people who had delivered previous electrification schemes, the themes underpinning their painful lessons were really obvious. We make things too difficult for ourselves and for our supply chain, too complicated, we change our minds, we don't know enough about our assets up front when we launch our programmes, and we carry dangerous assumptions through into too late a stage in the process for us to manage them effectively through the pressure to get a pile in the ground, to maintain those milestones that the credibility of our ability to deliver rely upon so heavily. Our grand plans for a blue sky programme of work looks amazing on paper, but in practice is dogged by late design, waiting, waste, the opposite of a lean approach in reality, drives prolongation, suboptimal deployment of critical resources, rework and conflicts with other projects and industry priorities. This programme is unique really in terms of the outcomes that it's seeking to deliver. We aren't providing journey time improvements or capacity through MMLE, it's just about electrification. And as such, there aren't the usual imperatives of an impending timetable change that we simply have to deliver on time at any cost. That allows us an unusual amount of flexibility, and we need to maximise that as a programme to unlock our ability to let the cost of the job drive it rather than its programme. For me, the key things that need to remain true to our delivery philosophy on MMLE are highlighted on the screen now. We need to create certainty, reduce complexity, optimise our critical resources, and have a relentless focus on cost. It sounds simple, doesn't it? The key learnings from focused discussions with the people that have been involved with the previous electrification schemes across the country brought out some imperatives that have shaped the delivery strategy for the Midland Mainline electrification programme, and deconflicting and productionising the key elements of route clearance, system immunisation and then electrification are the unanimous recommendations across that community. And that's what we've sought to implement on the basis of our delivery and operating model for the programme. As a client, we need to be absolutely clear on the remit for our supply chain. We want to clear the path for the specialist businesses operating in the civils, track and structures supply chain to route clear and frankly get out of the way, so that our signalling and electrification suppliers can work their way up the route in practice and production-orientated approach, knocking in piles in a steady, unencumbered procession, being really boring and reliable, and following through, installing the masts and wires, all coming together in energisation sections, unlocking more of the route to electric operation. Our job as a client is to make sure that we've managed the uncertainties inherent to our infrastructure, optimise that critical access window to allow our delivery teams to standardise and perfect their trade day in, day out, allowing the teams to just focus on their element of the job as far as we possibly can. Again, easier said than done, but these are the things we believe will allow us to truly perform and mitigate the cost of change, waste and underproductivity. Bringing that all together is our procurement strategy to attract the square pegs for the square holes that we need to fill our partnership with the supply chain, to prove to the industry that this can be done collaboratively and efficiently. My aspiration is that we will apply a horses for courses approach in delivering this programme, and collectively we'll come together with the joint goal of delivering industry-leading single track kilometre rates. The procurement for MMLE is pending that all-important funding decision from DfT, and as soon as we have that decision, we will publish our revised timeframes for that market offering. Be clear though, the philosophy for this programme is collaboration, best for programme, relentless focus on cost. We need innovators, organisations with the mettle to challenge convention and follow through in influencing the industry to change, with the vision and resilience to lead. So how are we going to do this? Speed provides us with a much needed framework to give us the mandate for change, the network support to make those what if we did this conversation into reality. There's so much to go at, from reducing the bureaucracy associated with the governance and assurance of the delivery of projects, to genuinely understanding our cost base, to the culture that we operate within, and there are some great prompts here of things we can collectively align ourselves around to generate positive change for the betterment of the industry. We've already seen some really big successes in the application of speed on the MMLE programme. We've saved around £250 million in the early stages of the programme by slashing the time to optioneer the scope of the job, and our funding cycle for OBC was achieved in a mere 3 months, hugely quicker than a process that can take sometimes up to a year. Voltage control clearances and the new standards to support the specification of appropriate parapet heights in relation to electrified routes have unlocked our ability to reduce the amount of work we need to do to prepare our infrastructure for electrification. These have been and continue to be difficult transitions, and we're working hard to make these things reality. But it shows that with the right focus and industry backing and leadership, we really can make a difference. So I've picked out a few of the areas that we continue to explore to drive down that indirect cost burden on the MMLE programme. We know that between Network Rail and DfT, there's a massive amount of duplicated effort and panels and boards that we need to satisfy and rightly so, that we are investing taxpayers' money wisely. And we're in discussions with DfT on how we streamline that process and build on the excellent track record of the programme so far to slash the time it takes to navigate the process and satisfy our funders that they can be confident in our plans. PACE that replaced GRIP is geared predominantly around the delivery of projects, and this programme is more like a production line of repeatable products, which could be incredibly labour intensive if the products that we generate to plan, deliver and assure our work. So we're looking at how we apply a minimum viable product approach, an MVP approach, to our paperwork as well as our scope. We know that one of the key principles of lean is to reduce waiting times, and swift decision making is core to the client domain. So we're working with the DfT to empower our teams locally as far as possible to allow us to quickly decide what the right thing to do is and put it into practice. Our approvals authorisations processes are massively labour intensive and in the past have duplicated effort in a major way. We need to drive a much smarter approach to the use of site-based data and the sharing and storage of that data to allow us to push our source records to reach the end authoriser in as slick a manner as possible. So the use of systems like BIM and site-based productivity and quality tools will be fundamental to this becoming a reality. But we want to be clear on what good looks like as well from a cost perspective, and we've been working on a tariff book which builds on the RIA report from 2019 into the cost of electrification and provides an industry benchmark for electrification so that we can easily compare projects with diverse geography and engineering attributes. And crucially, we're looking to fundamentally overhaul the design process for repeatable elements of the programme with standard design objects and fit-for-purpose design products that do just enough and do it repeatedly so that we don't engineer every single element from scratch every single time. This is a game changer for me and one of the areas that I'm really most excited about. And finally, we're investing in our leadership team on MMLE with the aim of supporting our teams to manage through change and transformation, to build trust and empower them to drive through the vital changes in approach that we need to sustain incremental improvements to the electrification business. There's so much more that we can do, and these things only really scratch the surface of the opportunities that we have to really make a difference. We all need to hold up the mirror and ask ourselves, have we set ourselves up for success? Have we done everything we can to meet the challenges that are ahead of us? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. It's been lovely to tell you a bit about what we're doing on MMLE, and please keep your fingers crossed that we get to put all of this into practice with the delivery of this fantastic programme. Thank you.